eSaleshub video on how to improve or increase your page conversion by 40%. My name is Mark Taylor, I'm the CEO of eSaleshub, and what I'm going to do today in this video is just show you something that we've developed that's helped us increase page conversion over the last couple of weeks. Now, undoubtedly COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic has had a massive impact on businesses all throughout the UK and in Europe. We've certainly seen, probably from the day of the lockdown, we saw probably about 70% of our clients pause their lead generation campaign because they weren't able to trade. Of those that stayed live, people like emergency plumbers, emergency drainage, those type of local services, they still kept their lead generation campaign going, but I would say their lead volumes were probably down by about 50%. And from what we could see, the traffic didn't really change. There was a bit more traffic maybe, but it just wasn't converting. So we put together a campaign, and what I'm going to do today in today's presentation is just take you through what we did, the improvements that we made to our landing pages, and the knock-on effect that had on not only page conversion, but obviously lead volume. Because at the end of the day, what you want is yes, you want a high converting page, but you also want that to reciprocate into being, generating more leads for the client. So what we did is you can see here, we pulled the stats, and I've just given you an example of some keywords that we use for a couple of different clients, new kitchen, new bathroom, plumber, electrician. And as you can see here, other than at the beginning of May when we had the bank holiday, there isn't really been a drop-off in traffic. So although we had some clients that were down on their lead volume by 50%, it wasn't necessarily a traffic issue. It was just that we put it down to the pages simply weren't converting as well as they were prior to the lockdown. And this is really what led the discussion around, okay, so what can we do on the page to increase page conversion, because we're still getting traffic, it's just not converting. Now, we noticed that on a number of different websites there is a COVID-19 statement, and we looked at a couple of different examples, and I think there's definitely two types that people have used. They've used a brief statement at the top where you click through for further information, or a bit more of a complete statement where there's no click through to another page. And we felt that actually going down the route of having more of a complete statement, so you didn't have to navigate off the landing page, would be better for page conversion and a better user journey. So what we did is we put together a campaign around creating identity for a COVID-19 secure business. Now, this is an expression that's been used by the government, and we felt that although there's government guidelines, there's no real identity or packaging or communication packaging for our clients to be able to use to clearly state that they're operating a COVID secure business. And so we set about creating the identity, we set about creating a very, very clear statement. So straight on the landing page, you could see straight away that, if the business was COVID secure or not. Because when you're dealing with a local service business, often, a lot of services, a lot of our clients actually deliver their service in the home or at the office. And I think getting across a clear statement of the precautions that they're making to put people's minds at rest, I think was a key part of our strategy. And the way we approach this is that for the clients that this was relevant to, they had to demonstrate to us that they had an operations plan, that they had a policy, they had a clear adherence to government guidelines, because we didn't just want to slap this logo on every single site. We wanted to make sure that it actually meant something. And so what we did is on the 13th, on the night of the 13th of May, we actually started putting the statement, as you can see here, on top of some of our client pages. So you can see this is Home Fit Kitchens, this is Europe Car. Because what we wanted to get across to the customer was that, every precaution was being taken if you wanted to take the service up. And what's really interesting is the increase in page conversion just by doing this simple packaging and simple communication to make it easy for the customer to understand that one of our clients is operating in a COVID secure way, it had a dramatic improvement on page conversion. So when we look at the results, on average, we've seen about a 40% uplift in page conversion. Now, this has resulted in pretty much across the board, I would say, in terms of lead volumes, I'd say we're probably about 75% of lead volumes as to where they were pre the lockdown. So the increase in page conversion has had a massive effect. But as you can see across these different categories, you can see that, whether it's driveways, whether it's emergency plumbing, kitchens, bathrooms, emergency drainage, as you can see here, whether it's an emergency service or something that's pre-planned within the home improvements market, you can see that just by having that COVID secure 19 identity on the page and a very, very clear statement that enables you to, as a user, to understand, that you are COVID-19 secure and operating in a secure manner, it has a dramatic improvement on page conversion. And I think it just gives the customer, rather than just being, a set of words on top of the page, I think having, the badge, having the statement just adds that credibility that that one of our clients actually is operating in a secure manner and has the proper operational processes in place. So as you can see, even from just bathrooms, it's pre-planned, quite a high average invoice value, but you can see it just by putting the logo and the statement at the top of the page, it pretty much doubled page conversion, within 2 weeks, which is pretty impressive. So if you're going to take advantage of improving page conversion by having a very clear COVID-19 statement, my recommendations is one, you've got to have an operations plan. You can't just stick this logo anywhere you want and on any on any page you want. You've got to have a clear operations plan in place, because you can't say something that you don't do. It's just not on. The second thing is definitely, I think, one of the key things is having a very, very clear statement that's very, very simple, to the point, but doesn't need the client to click off your landing page onto another page. In my view, if you're clicking off your landing page onto another page, unless it's to fill out a form, it's a conversion killer. If you get them to navigate to other content, you're putting in another barrier for them to becoming a lead. So our average page conversion before the pandemic was around 33-34%. And we're not far off those levels at the moment, but definitely having the statement and the icon there on the page without you having to click on has had a really, really big impact. I think the other thing is clearly communicating to remove the concerns your clients may have. Definitely has an impact on page conversion. As you can see, we made the change on the night of the 13th. Straight away, the next day on the 14th of May, our page conversion kicked up. You could argue, well, is it the relaxing of the regulations here in the UK? Is it, are there other events that have conspired to help that page conversion? Well, as you can see from the traffic hasn't changed that much. We've certainly not had a 40% increase in traffic for the key terms I showed you earlier. So I do think that, removing people's concerns by having a very, very clear statement, does have a massive impact on page conversion. Well, I hope you found this eSaleshub video informative. As always, please do ask any comments or questions that you have in the comments. But thanks very much for your time. My name is Mark Taylor. I'm the CEO of eSaleshub. Thank you.